XFM News. On point. The news on XFM. I'm Chris Tim. Ugandan President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has asked teachers and learners to avoid using public transport if the operators fail to follow the standard operating procedures of the Ministry of Health. The government set the 15th of October this year, 2020, as the date to reopen education institutions for candidate classes and finalists under strict observance of the COVID-19 guidelines. President Museveni, while presiding over the celebrations to mark the World Teachers' Day at State House in Entebbe yesterday, said public transport operators should not put the lives of learners and teachers at risk of COVID-19 under the guise of making money.
The campaign should be not only with the schools but also with the transporters. If I take my child to the transport and I see they are not doing it properly, I will go back. I say no, I'm not traveling with you because you are not following what the government said. These people want money. If you boycott them, if you see them doing what they are not supposed to do, and you say no, we're not going to give our children to you, they will behave. They will behave. The transporters. So you should become inspectors, all of you, all of us, not only the teachers but the whole population. Please be inspectors of COVID compliance.
The Minister of Education and Sports, as well as the First Lady, Janet Museveni, asked head teachers of various schools to feed the learners with nutritious food, which can boost their immunity.
The boarding schools, which feed children anyway, we are saying that they should deliberately try to boost the diet with affordable additional foods. That is something that can be done if they really look out for what is nutritious and affordable and add it on the diet that they feed to the children in boarding schools. But even for day schools, I'd like to appeal to the teachers to sensitize communities, because you see, teachers are not just for learners alone. Teachers are supposed to transform villages and transform nations. So I'm appealing to them to sensitize our communities about simple, nutritious foods that are available.
The Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Education, Alex Kakoza, assured the teachers that there are 20 billion Uganda shillings, which was promised to teachers of private schools, will be released to the intended beneficiaries soon.
Lastly, Your Excellency, the 20 billion which you gave to the private teachers to support them during this period. We have also agreed with the Minister of Finance and the Microfinance Support Center, where it had been remitted, that this money shall be given to the teachers. This afternoon, our team is working out modalities on how that money shall be remitted and who shall have it. And we are planning to have the next meeting chaired by Honorable Seninde on the 8th. That's the day after tomorrow, and UNATO is part of these discussions, Your Excellency.
The Ministry of Health has distanced itself from demands of the proprietors of private schools that all students and teachers will be required to undergo COVID-19 tests before schools can resume. This after the Bugabula South Member of Parliament, Henry Chivalia, presented a matter of concern in which he complained about the demand by schools to have parents pay 240,000 shillings for their children to undergo a coronavirus test. Chivalia says that many parents are still struggling to raise registration fees by UNEB and wondered how they will be able to raise the fees to test for COVID-19.
If a parent is failing to pay school fees of 100,000 for a student to be in boarding section, how is the government expecting that parent to pay the 240 for the testing?
So the Minister of State for Primary Health, Marika Kaduchu, did say that mandatory COVID-19 testing is not part of the standard operating procedures given to schools, and says that only those teachers or students who will develop COVID-19 symptoms will undergo the coronavirus tests.
Among the standard operating procedure, there is no provision for testing all the candidate classes and the teachers for COVID-19. This, as said by my colleague, is not going to be the case.
The aspiring Member of Parliament for the Elderly in eastern Uganda, Aggrey Awori, has petitioned Parliament on the absence of women representatives on the electoral colleges for the elderly, saying that this is unconstitutional. Awori says that all the electoral colleges that determine the election of the elderly are not gender sensitive, as women are not represented in these electoral colleges as demanded under the law. He demands that Parliament debates and approves 5 people from each district in the region to constitute the electoral college to elect the elderly for the 11th Parliament, and says that unless women are properly constituted to elect the elderly, the election will be contrary to the Ugandan constitution.
It's the issue of 5 people from each district to constitute the electoral college that will elect the elderly MP to come to Parliament. Now, we have realized that in the Eastern region, when you check on the electoral and the district executive committees which are going to vote at the electoral college, some of them don't have a single woman. This is contrary to the spirit of Constitution in terms of the gender balance. There should be no committee in this country deciding national issues unless women are properly constituted.
Now in world news, COVID-19 is spreading further among those around U.S. President Donald Trump, with White House advisor Stephen Miller and a top military official infected. Mr. Miller, who has been self-isolating for the past 5 days, confirmed he had contracted coronavirus on Tuesday. Top U.S. General Mark Milley and other military leaders are also quarantining after the Coast Guard official Admiral Charles Ray tested positive. Other officials are self-isolating out of an abundance of caution. In a statement, Mr. Miller said that he had been testing negative every day until Tuesday, adding that he was now in quarantine. His wife, Katie Miller, who is Vice President Mike Pence's spokeswoman, contracted the virus back in May and later recovered. Now in sports news, in tennis, Rafael Nadal's bid to equal Roger Federer's record of 20 Grand Slams at this year's French Open remains alive, following victory over Jannik Sinner in the tournament's latest ever finish. The big-hitting Italian broke Nadal in the opening set and looked to serve out before the Spanish 12-time champion hit back and won the tie-break. Nadal dominated the rest of the quarterfinal and sealed a 7-6, 7-4, 6-4, 6-1 win at about 1:20 a.m. local time, which is, of course, now this morning. He will face Diego Schwartzman. And that's the latest XFM News.
XFM News on point.